Welcome back to Talking Fitchburg. Last night I attended the North Fish Hatchery Neighborhood Center Study open house meeting. So I shot a little video there of the presentation, and here's just a small portion of it for you right now.
My name is Wade Thompson. I'm a planner with the City of Fitchburg, and we're here tonight to talk a bit about the North Fish Hatchery Road Neighborhood Center Study. So when we talk about the North Fish Hatchery Road neighborhood, I think that's kind of an ambiguous neighborhood, but really what we're talking about is essentially the Arbor Hills Leopold neighborhoods, which are kind of up in this area, as well as some other City of Fitchburg neighborhoods that are kind of in this area. And if you look at the map, really we're focused on the Nine Springs Golf Course, which is where we're at tonight, and kind of a general area around that. And I do want to point out that the City of Madison a couple of years ago developed a neighborhood plan for Arbor Hills and Leopold, and they essentially used this as their study area for that plan. And I think ultimately, as we talk about a neighborhood center in this area, I think as the discussion evolves, we're going to be working with City of Madison, we're going to be working with you folks in the neighborhood, we're going to be working with nonprofit groups, and I think we want to respect the work that's been done. So again, when we talk about the neighborhood and the study area, we're kind of building on what the City of Madison did in their neighborhood plan, but also again trying to bring in a little bit of the area south. So there's a lot of kids in the neighborhood, a lot of diversity, a lot of Spanish speakers, African American, white. People are using public transportation. There's high residential densities. Obviously, if you know the neighborhood, there's a lot of apartment buildings, not a whole lot of single family homes. So that means a lot of people in a relatively small area. And actually recently we did some health analysis of the neighborhood, and we found out that the neighborhood does have high childhood obesity rates. So that's kind of an interesting idea that we found. Now in terms of neighborhood services, we have a real nice library in Fitchburg, we have a real nice city hall, but that's about 1.5 miles down the road. And what we come to realize is that to get down to those services, that's not always easy for people in this neighborhood for various reasons. So limited parks as well, and really just the idea of limited services in the neighborhood. And then furthermore, I think we've identified that there is grocery stores in the area, there's a Cops just down the road. But in terms of, again, if a lot of people are walking or biking, getting to that Cops may not always be the easiest thing. So the idea that fresh food options are deficient, there isn't the little corner grocery store to get fresh food and those sorts of things. So again, this is what we think we know. We've done a lot of research, a lot of plans. I'm sure we're not, there might be things we're missing here, but again, just trying to give you kind of a thumbnail sketch of the neighborhood. This is some of the things that we've identified. So with all that in mind, with all the research we've done, one question we asked ourselves at the city, along with the City of Madison and some other folks, is the question, is a neighborhood center a good way to help build and maintain the health of this neighborhood? So with that in mind, we've actually partnered with UWMadison students. They're in the back there. We're actually working with them over the past semester, then this semester that they're currently in, to really help us figure out, what could a neighborhood center look like in the area, where could it potentially be? And really what we're doing as part of this whole process of developing a real preliminary neighborhood center study is listening. We're not here to tell you, where a neighborhood center should go or what it should look like. We're here to listen. But again, I talked about that two-way street, and we'll talk more about that. The idea is you need to provide us with feedback. You need to be willing to work to help us, really improve the health of the neighborhood. So with that in mind, we're also working with City of Madison. I mentioned we're kind of in a unique area where, to the north is City of Madison. Maybe I'll back up here. So we don't have the border on here, but basically this is City of Madison, City of Fitchburg. And I think, as you all know, as residents, at the end of the day, you're not so concerned about is Madison or Fitchburg providing you with the services, you just want the services. So I think we recognize that we need to work with the City of Madison, we need to improve relations with them, again, to help deliver services in the neighborhood. So with that in mind, I want to talk a bit about what is a neighborhood center. Again, you all may have a pretty good idea of what that is, but just to make sure we're all on the same page, I really want to start, kind of from square one here. So we're talking about basically a building or buildings out of which various programs and services are provided to the neighborhood and the community. Now that could be things like a gym, you know, with organized sport leagues. That could be rooms for classes for adults and children. It could entail things like childcare, computer labs, spaces for parties, weddings, maybe a place to get a cup of coffee, a sandwich after work. But I guess the other question is, you know, where could it go? And again, we're not here saying it's going to go here or there. We really want to hear from you in terms of what you think could work for the neighborhood. Now, and obviously there's other probably places we haven't thought of. So again, we're here tonight to kind of get some feedback from you all in terms of where a neighborhood center could be located. Now, I do want to point out that for these things to work, the neighborhood has to be involved and take ownership. Obviously, we're here as a city to start the discussion, to listen to you. You know, we have resources, we can hold meetings, we can get people involved. But at the end of the day, the neighborhood, the people that live in it, the people that work in it, they need to want the center. So, you know, really what that leads to in terms of, you know, where we go from here, again, this is a very preliminary meeting. We're putting together a very preliminary study with the help of our students. But ultimately what's going to happen is the community, the neighborhood needs to be involved. So really the questions boil down to, do you and your neighbors want a neighborhood center? And if so, what can you do to get one? And then the flip side of that, and I talked about the two-way street, what can we as city staff help the neighborhood do to get to that vision of a neighborhood center? So again, there's a lot in this slide, but really, you know, at the core of it, the neighborhood needs to be involved.
So there you go. Just pretty good meeting, pretty well attended. And if you guys have any more opinions or thoughts about that, you can contact Wade and give him your thoughts. We're going to be taking a quick break, and we'll be right back with Talking Fitchburg PB&J segment.